All right, everybody. That was the Rob Tui theme, courtesy of Leroon, creator and founder and CEO and COO and CFO of Fantasy Grounds College. Welcome, everybody, to All Things Fantasy Grounds Sunday night here on Channel Rob Tui. I am here with my co-host, Leroon. How are you doing, Leroon?
I'm doing pretty good. I've just been teaching and making up some plans and some schemes for the future and trying to get more teachers and doing multimedia campaigns and so forth.
Excellent. I love scheming and planning, whatever that means. I love it. I'm going to go ahead and switch over my screen so that everybody will see what we see. And as we get the show rolling here, I will, of course, be doing my disclaimer that we always like to do. Oh, no, we don't need that email. I don't know what the hell that's doing there. Here we go. All right, that's fine. I'm all back to normal. So, guys, everybody watching, All Things Fantasy Grounds Talk Show is meant to teach and help, but the opinions stated by us in the show are not those of Smiteworks USA LLC or Fantasy Grounds. Our special guest tonight is Zacchaeus. Zacchaeus is not with us. Zacchaeus lives in Scotland, everybody, so it's like, oh, Jack 30 in the morning for him. So we pre-recorded this. It's 52 minutes, and we're going to play it for you. And while you guys are watching, pay attention because we're going to give away a prize. And while you're watching, feel free to ask questions if you have them, because Leroon and I will be monitoring the chat on Twitch. And if you have questions, go ahead and do that. And before we get started, Leroon, anything you'd like to say before I hit the play on the video?
No, you guys sit back and listen. This is our one of our better helpers and someone that's very active in FGC and also on the official Fantasy Grounds Discord and the forum. So check this out, man. Listen to this show.
All right, here we go, everybody. Recording. All right, so I'm here with my co-host Leroon, and we would like to welcome our special guest Zacchaeus, whom everybody who's watching the show, I would assume, would already know. Welcome, Zacchaeus, to the show. How are you doing?
Yeah, not too bad at all. Not too bad at all.
All right, excellent. So when you guys watch the show, you'll see me bounce around between screens, and I'll try and have Zacchaeus up here when he's talking, when I'm not looking at some other different kind of screen. So for now, I'm going to go over here to the show notes, and first thing we want to do is have you, Zacchaeus, introduce yourself, tell us who you are, and all about your RPG experience. And Leroon, was there anything else that he should add to that when he gives his intro?
No, he could do pretty much what he wants, but we probably should talk about the disclaimer.
The disclaimer. I almost forgot. No, actually, we don't have to do that. I would have already done it before we started the video, so we can roll right on without it.
Okay.
Well, where do I start? I'm retired. I've been retired for 7 or 8 years or something like that now. So this is what gives me the time to devote to Fantasy Grounds that I've been able to do. I started role-playing games with my kids when they were probably about, the oldest boy maybe been 12 or something like that. So we're looking 25 years ago or something. And I just started playing with them. And I suppose I came to role-playing games quite late for that reason, but they were all quite young. And then and we played for years. We played through all the various D&D editions and a few other different games like RuneQuest and Call of Cthulhu and things like that. And then of course ultimately they all grew up and went to universities and sort of completed their degrees and moved all over the world. So the group kind of ended up splitting up, and so we couldn't play for years. And then I happened upon Fantasy Grounds on Steam, and I bought the 4 for the cost of 3 sort of package thing, the standard, and distributed them amongst my kids, and we started playing again. So I think we've been playing maybe 3 years now or something like that since I discovered Fantasy Grounds.
Ah, cool.
And just gone from there.
That's awesome. I love stories like that. I know we all do, when especially that's what Fantasy Grounds is great for, is groups that used to be together, either families or friends or whatever, and then everybody parses out to different cities, and now you can still play. So that's super awesome. And I know that Leroon, before we started the show, he mentioned to me that he wanted you to talk about your Sunday game. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, well, we've been playing on Sundays more or less since we started Fantasy Grounds, and I started off because when I started, there was no Wizards of the Coast stuff. They didn't have the license with Wizards of the Coast at that time. So I started converting some fourth edition adventures that I happened to have the PDFs for, and so I started converting them into 5e, and we started playing those. And then all the Wizards of the Coast stuff started coming out, so we switched over to those because you could buy them, and Zeph had converted a few, and so on and so forth. So we've been playing Storm King's Thunder most recently. So that's the one that we've been playing when we can, because not everybody is available every Sunday.
Yeah.
Because they're all over the world, and we've got, I mean, two of the group are in America, and my youngest son can't play because he's in Canada and his timing's all wrong for Canada. So we don't manage to play every Sunday, but yeah, we usually manage to get a few hours in.
Cool.
Nice.
And I'm sure people that don't know, and everybody would like to know, how you're kind of the official maker of all of the Wizards of the Coast material for Fantasy Grounds as of late, if not all of them. How did that come about? Like, how did you become that person?
Well, it started off. Basically, I started off because I was making a lot of posts on the forums, and John Moon Wizard asked me to be a moderator for the forums and also to update the wiki for the 5th edition rules set. So I started some work on that, and then I was asked to do some conversions for Legendary Games products, which was a license that Fantasy Grounds or Smiteworks acquired 2 or 3 years ago. And so I started off with just doing conversions of quite small adventures, and some of them were sort of bigger adventures and things like that. And then the guy that was doing the first few modules that were dealt with, like the Lost Mines of Phandelver and the Rage of Demons ones, some of them were done by Zeph Phonos, which he's Zeus on the forums, and Doug had actually done a couple of them himself as well. Because as you can imagine, when they got the Wizards of the Coast license, there was a whole backlog of stuff because the Player's Handbook, the Monster Manual, the Dungeon Master's Guide, and there was 2 or 3 adventures already out by the time they got the license. So there was a sort of kind of hell for leather to get all that out. And then Doug asked, so there was another guy called TAS Agent on the forums, and he did the first couple of Out of the Abyss and Sword Coast Adventures Guide and a couple of other ones. The Dracula one, I've forgotten the name of it, Curse of Strahd. And then I was asked to quality control his work, so that started a relationship with them. I was getting the modules before they were released, and I was going through them with a fine-tooth comb, and correcting mistakes and making suggestions for making them better, etc., etc. And then he got another job and was no longer able to devote the time, and so Doug asked me if I would take over doing the modules for the Wizards of the Coast stuff.
Oh,
so
man.
That's kind of the history behind that.
That's fascinating to me because it all just kind of happened, right? It all just kind of put itself together, which is awesome. And I know that you said, I think last time I was talking to you, either I was talking to you directly or we were in some conversation about something, and you said, I think you said that either Tales of the Yawning Portal or it was Tomb of Annihilation took you 350 hours or something like that, 400 hours.
Yeah, Tomb of Annihilation is probably took the longest time because we made the decision to start putting out a reference manual with the adventures. I mean, up to that point in time, all the adventures had simply been just stories, and we didn't do a reference manual. I think Tales of the Yawning Portal was the first one that I actually did a reference manual for it, but the reference manual for that one isn't integrated into the thing. I did them in two separate ways and then just merged the XML at the end, so they're not actually properly integrated. But Tomb of Annihilation was the first one where it, from the ground up, it was the reference manual was going to be an integral part of the adventure. And you were able to, I mean, what I wanted to do, I wanted the Dungeon Master to be able to run it either from the stories, like all the other adventures had been done, or from the reference section. And the reference section obviously is the place that you want to be able to read the whole module in, because it's almost just like a PDF, especially with the integrated graphics and all that kind of thing.
Right.
So that was kind of developed because initially we didn't have the ability to put integrated graphics into the reference manuals. But once that came along, it became kind of obvious that we should do reference manuals for the adventures. But it does add another 100 hours to the development.
Yeah. Oh my God. And yeah, go ahead. I'm sorry. Yeah, go ahead.
So Tomb of Annihilation probably did take about 400 hours altogether.
Yeah, that's amazing. And and I know, based on you and I having you were kind enough to spend about I don't know, it was 30 minutes, 45 minutes, could have even been an hour with me about a month or two ago, and you sort of walked me through how the reference manual process worked. And I've been testing and using a little bit of that information, and haven't quite fully even made full use of that you taught me, but that was so kind of you to do that. And it is an amazing behind the scenes, for anybody that might be interested in development or creating their own modules and using a reference manual, whether you're going to just do it either in using parse or breaking it open XML and creating it from scratch by yourself. I mean, it's an amazing thing that you can do, but it's really intricate and complicated, and for someone like me, a little bit intimidating. So it was very helpful that you walked me through that. But it's amazing what goes into these modules. I mean, people I think complain a little bit. I hear a little bit of complaint out just in the world and in the industry of role-playing games and online role-playing. And there's Roll20, and there's D20 Pro, and there's all these different virtual tabletops, and everyone's complaint is that, oh, I bought the hardback and then now I got D&D Beyond, and why do I have to keep paying for these modules? But if people knew what you have to go through to make these, it's just insane the amount of work that goes into it. And Smiteworks has seen fit to make their prices even basically half of everybody else. So when I hear people complain about having to pay for that, I'm like, if you only knew the work that was involved, you would give out 3 times as much money, because it's just fantastic what goes on behind the scenes.
Well, you're paying for a different product. I think that's the thing that you think, well, I've already got the Monster Manual in hardback, and maybe I've also got the Roll20 or whatever else. I bought it there as well. But you're paying for a different product, because the electronic version or the Smiteworks version of the Player's Handbook is nothing like the paper version of the Player's Handbook. Obviously, it's exactly the same material that's in it, but it's a different medium, and you use it in a different way, and it's used for a different purpose. So it is effectively a different product. It's the same words, and it's got the same material, but it is a different product.
Yeah, and the functionality with the rollable tables and everything else. Yeah, people don't. I just think people. It's almost, and it's frustrating, because now Doug hired me to be on the social media team, and so I'm out there spreading the word, as I was for the last 2 years anyway. He's only paying me to do what I was already doing, but there's a little bit of a barrier, a little difficulty in trying to get people who have never used Fantasy Grounds or have never tried it to come and look at it, because like me and like most people that I know and everybody that's on the forums and all of the users that use Fantasy Grounds, once you step into it, it's like, oh, I can't believe this. How did I not know about this before? And I think everybody falls in love. I don't personally know or have never heard of a person who tried Fantasy Grounds and then said to themselves, yeah, this is crap, I'm leaving. I don't know any person that exists like that. Everybody who uses it really loves it, and mainly in part because of what you do and what other developers do to make those products so fantastic. I mean, I just think it's awesome. And I've developed 28 titles for the store, but nothing compared to, the official WotC stuff that you do and the other Pathfinder stuff that the other guys do. That's like, just hardcore with the ref manuals and everything else. It's just awesome.
Well, I've got a slight advantage in that I use parse for a lot, but a lot of these guys are working purely in the XML, and they have produced some amazing stuff. You look at some of the Savage Worlds things and the Castles and Crusades. There's a whole bunch of people working in Castles and Crusades, updating it and things like that. And they're putting a hell of a lot of love and attention into that. All the Pathfinder material as well. My main focus is on 5e, and I don't really know much about the other rule sets, to be honest. But I kind of keep an eye on the forums, and people ask me questions, and I keep in touch with a good few of the other developers. And the amount of stuff that's coming out just now, and the quality of it it is fantastic.
It is fantastic, yeah, and it's funny to me because I've developed about a dozen Pathfinder titles. None of the adventure paths, or none of the like Paizo books, but just third-party stuff. But it's really funny to me because James Holloway came to me one day, and that's the guy. For those that don't know, that's the guy that kind of wrangles us. He's in charge of the module development, and he came to me and he said, "Hey Rob, why don't you do some Pathfinder stuff?" And I said, "Well, I've never played Pathfinder. I've never even, not even for 5 minutes have I ever played Pathfinder." And he goes, "Oh, you don't need to know how to play to make the modules. You've done modules, you can figure it out." And I did. I just pieced it together and made it. But it's pretty funny because I still have never played Pathfinder or Starfinder, and I'm creating material for that. But I just, I mean, you can tell by listening to me, I just gush over Fantasy Grounds because I think it's like literally the greatest thing ever invented. But what's been done by you and others, and what's going to be done, and what's coming down the pipe here is, I mean, there's just some fantastic stuff. And you were right when you said that a lot of the developers put a lot of love and attention into their work, and it shows when when you load up these modules in your library. You can see, oh man, this is just so great. Oh, go ahead.
I mean, in a sense, it's creating a rod for our own backs, because some of the older material, which was produced, in the early days, don't have an awful lot of the functionality. And people coming to Fantasy Grounds now for the first time, and maybe they pick up, some of the older rule sets and things like that, they don't have all that drag and drop functionality, and they don't have the reference manuals with the inbuilt graphics and things like that, and they kind of expect it now. So no doubt somebody will be going back and redoing some of that to bring it up to speed, as it were. But yes, there's a lot of really good developers just now. I think actually, I'm sure Doug said at one point they've got something like about 70 or 80 developers now, which is a phenomenal amount.
Yeah, it's a big group. I think it's last time I heard it was over 60, so 70 or 80 could certainly be the case now. I know that a couple of guys that weren't doing it who are doing it now, so that number is growing. Leroon, you've been kind of quiet. Do you have any questions, or did we miss anything in the points that we've covered so far?
I don't think so. I mean, I'm just kind of absorbing the knowledge and kind of putting into my mind the timeline here, because I remember when I joined, and the first thing I did is I bothered Zach about the effects. And that's kind of how I found you, Rob, is actually by bugging him. He didn't direct me to you, but eventually the roads led to you.
Yeah, because a lot of my initial, how I found Zacchaeus initially was I played in FGCon 7. We've got it on the screen here, the Incomplete Breakfast that he usually runs for the FG Days or FG Cons. And I found him and played that game with him for like almost 4 hours, and kind of got to know him a little bit in there. And this was, let me see if there's a date on here. Yeah, November of 2015. So that was right away, because I found Fantasy Grounds, I think, in September of 2015. And so got to know who he was and everything. And then on the forums, of course, anybody can go look on the Fantasy Grounds forums and see his name plastered all over that thing because he's everywhere. And so I played with you, Zacchaeus, in that game, and that was fun and fantastic. And then I started streaming, and I mean, it just all took off for me. And I became this like person who was obsessed with Fantasy Grounds in almost every way. And I've used many people watching the show right now. I've probably used a lot of the material that Zacchaeus has put together, not only in the way of official products that you would have in your library, but also some of the maps that he's done. And we've got a on the forums. If you go to extensions, modules, pregens, and other 5e resources, which is located under the 5e section of the forums, you see he's got additional maps for most of the modules here, the maps you might need. And I'm assuming, Zacchaeus, that you did that. You were filling the need of areas in the adventure that didn't come with the module. So you said, well, there's a hole that I need to fill, and you made those. Isn't that how that happened?
Yeah, it started off, I think, I can't remember which one I did first, but I think it was probably Out of the Abyss or Princes of the Apocalypse. I can't remember exactly which one. I was probably running one of them at the time, and discovered that there was probably a few maps that could or a few areas which could do with a map, because it was a VTT after all. I mean, that's what Fantasy Grounds is. And not every encounter had a map, and some of the major areas didn't even have maps. So I drew maps for my own group, and I thought, well, maybe somebody else can use them as well. So they proved very popular. So after that, whenever I've done a module, and I, obviously doing them, you sort of start to recognize areas. Oh, there could be a map here, or it could be a map there. I think the biggest one was the Legacy of the Crystal Shard, because it had one map in it, and that was it, and there was no other maps at all in it. So I think I sat down that day and I think it was about 30 maps or something like that I did for that one. But yeah, it's just any areas of the adventures where there are no maps, and as I say, because there's a VTT, I like to use maps for every encounter if I can. Many people don't. Many people say, well, you can use Theatre of the Mind, and in fact, the video that Doug did yesterday, which is definitely worth a look. That's a brilliant idea, using a sort of a kind of just a map with lines on it, with the sort of sectors, as it were, melee and close range and long range and out of combat and stuff like that. That's a brilliant idea.
That is a brilliant idea. For those of you that want to check that out, what Zacchaeus is referring to is the March 30th video that was done, Fantasy Grounds Friday video on YouTube with Doug and Dave. If you want to check that out, you can go search for it. They do a show every Friday, and this was a particular Friday, March 30th, 2018, that they didn't have a guest. So they talked a little bit about Unity, but they also showed what he just referred to, a sort of a Theater of the Mind map grid, where you can have tokens on the map and have them be in melee, close range, long range, out of battle. And it's a really good tool for having a battle and being able to use tokens in the combat tracker when there is no map. It was pretty fantastic. I can't believe nobody ever thought of that before. Maybe somebody did, but he actually implemented it, so you can now use it in Fantasy Grounds. So that is really cool. Let's see, what else were we going to talk about? Let me get back to my notes here. We talked about the maps. Oh, so I did want to at least mention, I think it's not fair to not mention when we're talking with you specifically, about PAR 5e, about XML, about Lua, about any of the other things that you might want to impart knowledge on people who are Fantasy Grounds users, and who in particular might want to become developers, or at least maybe if they're not going to be a developer for Smiteworks, they want to make their own modules. Any do's and don'ts from you? Any pieces of advice or wisdom that you want to pass on to people just in general without being too specific?
Well, Parser is no longer available, of course, as a public entity, so there's not really much point in sort of directing people in that sort of direction. But you can build modules now entirely in Fantasy Grounds, and in fact, the earliest modules that I did, I just used Parse to do the story entries and do the sort of linking and things like that, and then everything else was done in Fantasy Grounds and then just exported as a module. But I've since switched over to doing it mostly in Parse now. But you can do everything a reference manual, which is the thing that most people really want to be able to do. But everything is now you can do, because they've added in things, even things like spells and feats and all sorts of things that you weren't pre-board. That's all since I've been playing Fantasy Grounds. I mean, initially it was only stories and NPCs and items that you could export, but gradually everything has been increased, including, as I say, feats and spells and all sorts of things. Even effects, you can export those as well now. So you can do the whole thing in Fantasy Grounds. It's a great tool for that. But I think because of the limitations that Fantasy Grounds has for text manipulation, you're probably better doing it in some text editor first of all, and then copy pasting from the text editor into Fantasy Grounds once you've got your text all kind of sorted out. And especially if you're copying from a PDF, you'll find all sorts of double spaces and weird and wonderful things that are in padding and all sorts of stuff. And
ligatures,
something like
all this other stuff.
Yeah. Things like Notepad++, for example, you can do a very quick search and replace for all of that, and you can join up text because there's a line break usually at the end of every sentence, and so you can use Notepad++ for it. So that for wadges of text, if you're doing wadges of text, then I think probably put it into something like Notepad++ before you put it into Fantasy Grounds. But then once you've got the story, once that's in there, then everything else can be done within Fantasy Grounds itself. And you also have to mention things like NPC Engineer that Mask has done. I mean, that's a fantastic tool for getting all your NPCs in.
Yeah, as a matter of fact, I just completed work on the Monsters Without Borders charity version for the DM's Guild, and how I built that in Fantasy Grounds was I did it all in NPC Engineer, which he has added functionality. As of just a few days ago, he added functionality that actually makes a reference manual, but it only makes the reference manual for the NPCs. It doesn't do anything else. But what I did is I made the module, and then I went into Fantasy Grounds, made all the other stuff, the story entries for the credits and everything else, and then I cracked open that XML and slammed it into the first one and cleaned it up and fixed all the errors. And it's not an exact science. It's a sort of a messy process, especially when, like, I'm not an expert in XML, but I mean, I know enough to get around and trial and error and fix stuff. But that's how I ended up making that, and I'm pretty proud of it. And people can go and download it on DM's Guild for free because it's a charity thing for Doctors Without Borders. But I'm pretty excited about Mask's NPC Engineer, and my hope, what I told him is I want to go into a coma and then wake up the day he's got it all done, where it does literally everything, because he'll have it where you can build an entire Fantasy Grounds module just in NPC Engineer. And you're right, you can do everything in the actual Fantasy Grounds virtual tabletop. You can build an entire module top to bottom in there. The only thing you can't do is the reference manual. So
yeah, I mean, the IKEEL has got he's got a one for Savage Worlds, and you can actually, as long as you've got the Savage Worlds rule set, you can actually create a reference manual within that, because the reference manual part of it is basically a core RPG thing. So it's the same across all the rule sets. So you don't need to be it's not any different for 5e or whatever. So he's got that one that you can use. You can export it, and you can then manipulate the XML in the same way. So you can produce it with that. And I think there was somebody else on the forums as well. It might have been Celestian or Minty Fresh. I can't remember. But they produced a thing that you could use the story entries to produce a reference manual.
Yeah,
so
that
there's all
was
these.
that was Celestian. It's called I think his extension is called Author. And
That's right.
Yeah,
That's right.
Yeah. So yeah, so there's many ways you can do stuff, and I usually just do whatever I think is going to be easiest, and then when there's a mistake, I panic and figure out a way to fix it. that's how I operate. So good.
Yeah.
That's great. I know there's all any. I mean, well, I'm stumbling over my speech because I'm so excited. But I was going to mention current projects, and what I was going to say is that I know you're always working on something because there's always something coming. But did you want to mention anything specific about what you're working on? I know you can't give away certain things, but certainly you must be or have already worked on Mordenkainen's Tome of Foes, yes?
Yep, it's basically finished. I'm just waiting on a couple of things from Doug to just be able to finish up. Kind of was finished working on it this morning, more or less, last night. So it's just about done. So it'll have to it has to go off to Wizards to approve it before it gets released. So usually want to get it done before, but I don't think it actually gets released until the end of May. So this one seems like it's a breeze.
Yeah,
it has so much time.
The Fantasy Grounds version usually comes out 11 days before Street. So May 29th is the release date, which means I think we'll get it on Fantasy Grounds on May 18th, I believe.
I shall bow to your superior knowledge in this respect.
Well, yeah, because I'm one of these guys that goes at 12:01 a.m. and I click, refresh. I want it. I gotta have it now. And I know that the practice that has been implemented since before Tomb of Annihilation came out is that the thing at the beginning of Fantasy Grounds, when you open it up to open all the rule sets, they'll put in the next thing coming out with like a available soon window in there, so you can oh my god, it's coming. Everybody gets all excited and wants to buy it the first day. And I of course I've got the bundle with my 25% discount, so I'm excited.
Yeah, me too.
You'd think that since I work there I'd get it for free, but no, I'm happy to pay because I support the company. But I'm super excited about that. What is, and I'm just curious, this wasn't even really a question, but I'm just curious, I've always wanted to ask you, how much lead time do you get? Like how many months out do they give you the PDF or whatever the materials are that you work from to make the Fantasy Grounds mod? Is that like 6 months ahead or 9 months ahead?
Oh hell no. It depends. This one I've had for I think I must have got it about the beginning of March or the end of May, at the end of February. So this one actually has been quite a long time. I don't usually have as much time as this, but because it's usually sort of reasonably tight. The difference between like Mordenkainen's Tome of Foes is that it's just a reference manual. So it doesn't take as long as the adventures do, because the adventures have got so much more to them, because you've got all the items, the partials, the traps, the maps, the encounters have got to be placed in a map. So it takes just so much longer to do those. So maybe it just feels like this one has not taken any time at all, because maybe I do get the same amount of time, but it's usually a couple of months, maybe 10 weeks. But it's got to go to WotC at least a couple of weeks before release date to get okayed. So
right.
I usually have about maybe 2 months to do a module of that sort of size.
Okay. What would be a typical thing that they might say you know, like they look it over for approval, and then what kind of things do they say? Oh no, this needs to be changed, or you can't do that, or what's their typical thing they might do to kick it back to you?
The only things that they've ever come back with is artwork. You know, sometimes I think what was the last one what was the last one that we did?
Most recent was Tomb of
God, I can't
Annihilation.
even remember the name of it. The after Tomb of Annihilation. What did we do after Tomb of Annihilation? What was the last one that came out? Not Volo's Guide. God, I've forgotten the name of it. Anyway, they
Tales
came
from the
back
Yawning
with.
Portal. I don't know.
I can't remember. Can't remember the names now. Yeah, they came back with a couple of things about some of the tokens, because I had, for example, there was a lot of giant this and giant that and giant the next thing. So we didn't have any artwork for any of these things. So they all got sort of defaulted to the letter G. And they kind of said, well, could we make it, instead of defaulting to the letter G, could you make it so that it's if it's a giant bear, could you make it B? So so I had to change, you know, to sort of create some extra tokens for that. But most of it, they very little that comes back actually.
Cool. So I'm assuming then that WotC has someone in that office who is a Fantasy Grounds user who cracks that thing open and goes through it bit by bit and you know, make sure that they're checking everything. That's pretty awesome.
Well, I think it's Chris Lindsay, isn't it?
Is it Chris? Yeah, because I know he does love it. He is a lover of Fantasy Grounds, so I'm glad it's him. I didn't know it was him specifically, but that's fantastic. Let's see what else. So I guess, yeah, Leroon, were you about to say something?
Yeah, I have a few things in regards to his involvement with the community.
Oh, right. Go ahead.
All right. First of all, how many, other than the Fantasy Grounds forums, how many other Discord type servers are you involved with? I know the official one.
That's it. Just the Fantasy Grounds forums and the FG College one. That's the only ones that I have time to be involved in.
So I don't. Did I ask you to help in the college, or you just kind of migrate over? I don't remember how that worked.
Well, you twisted my arm and threatened me with all sorts of things.
Okay.
I love it.
I don't remember how that worked. I think you just showed up and started helping.
I just showed up and started helping. Yeah, I was curious to find out because I think you had you PM'd me a couple of times about the thing, and we had a discussion about maybe setting something like that up, and and then you'd gone ahead and done it, and so I came along just to see what was going on, and it, of course in the early days it was chaos, and
Still is.
yeah, and people started asking questions, and so I mean I think my initial thought was that I might be able to sort of help out with teaching and things like that, but because of other commitments, I can't sort of do regular things. And I think that's what you were kind of looking for initially. So I kind of ended up just answering questions on the forums, and then you set up a whole channel.
Yeah, you know, I really didn't know what way this thing was going to go, but I do remember the conversation now. And you said, you know, this is going to be a job. It's not going to be fun anymore. I do remember that.
Yeah.
Well, that's right. I mean, it does end up like that because, you know, when you add it all together, you add in the sort of checking the forums and the Discord channels and stuff like that. And I mean, I also do all the corrections and I monitor all the bug reports and stuff like that for the 5e stuff. And sometimes, you know, that can, I think we've got over the hump of that now, and we've kind of more or less got the 3 core books, which did have a lot of errors in them because they were done so quickly. But we've kind of gotten over the hump of that now, so it's not just as bad. But yeah, if I start adding it all up, it basically amounts to a job. Yeah.
So besides networking issues, what kinds of problems or questions you get asked every single day? There has to be a couple.
Effects are always a constant subject, and uh, things like people not being able to find their modules, people not being able to load Fantasy Grounds because it sometimes reverts them back to demo users and things like that. But I suppose the most contentious ones are the port forwarding and connection issues and so on and so forth. I mean, there's probably at least one or two people every day, either on the forums or in the FG College or the Discord channel, the Smiteworks Discord channel, that have got some port forwarding issue. And it just people want to be able to do so. Is there a way to do X, and or how would you do this, and how would you do that? So it's quite general, but occasionally you get the odd one that you say, well, why on earth are you thinking about that? Why would you even want to do that?
I had a guy the other day ask me, can you make a reroll 1 or a reroll 2 effect in the combat tracker rather than assigning it to the weapon? And I thought to myself, well, that'd be really cool, but no, you can't. I was like, you just can't do it. Yeah, and
that one comes up quite often actually, and things like Druid Wild Shape comes up quite frequently too, and there's a few of them. The Barbarian's Rage and the Fighter's Automatic. People think that, for example, if you set up an effect that does increases armor class, that it adjusts the character sheet. Which it doesn't do. So I've set up this effect and it's right, but it hasn't made any difference. But it doesn't actually change the character sheet. It creates an effect and you can see it in chat. So that can be sometimes difficult for people to get their heads around. But I think it's the learning curve, and the criticisms I see is lack of documentation and stuff like that. But I think at the end of the day, it's everybody's different. Some people like to watch videos. Some people want to read a manual, and other people don't want to do anything at all. They just want it to work. And the problem with Fantasy Grounds is that the learning curve is there, and you do need to read documentation, and you do maybe need to watch a video or two. And you do need to actually kind of play around with it till you find your own feet as to how it works. And some of it is a little archaic, I suppose, But I found it actually surprisingly easy to get into because of my age and being very old, and the sort of the way things worked when I started playing around with computers. You right-click the mouse, you had context menus everywhere. So everything, I just automatically would right-click over things and, oh, there's a context menu. It's simple, but apparently nowadays that isn't the way that it should be done. It should be done some other way. So people don't kind of think about right-clicking or whatever, So it's just a difference. And there's a lot of people there. Oh, what's the keyboard shortcut for this? Well, I never use keyboard shortcut. Oh, you must use keyboard shortcuts. They're fantastic. So, well, I don't use them. So I don't care. But if you're used to, that's the way you're used to using it, and that's what you're looking for, and there isn't always a keyboard shortcut. But I think the learning curve for people is the biggest problem.
Yeah, you mentioned. Oh, go ahead, Liren.
I was going to say I tried to help with that with the FG College because I remember I still have problems to this day. So that's kind of why I set this up, is so that it'd be like a learning center and offer those 3 different avenues to learn by either hands-on or by documentation or by pushing them to Zach or whatever it needs to happen, to get that learning curve out of the way so they can get playing.
Yeah, and Zacchaeus, you talked about the different kinds of people. Some people like to watch videos. Some people like to monkey around with it. Some people like to read the manual, the 357-page Fantasy Grounds manual. And then there's people that just want it to work. Those are my favorite kind of people, the people that just want it to work, especially where effects are concerned, because then those are the people that buy my crap because they're lazy and they don't want to learn it. And so those are my favorite kind of people. But I always encourage anybody, even people that buy the effects from me, or their DM has it, and the DM kind of just handles all their character sheets for them and makes it so that the player has an easy time. I still encourage people to learn how to create the effects and to read the wiki, which basically you're responsible for. And the reason for that is if they get into a homebrew situation, or they make a new race or a new class or something that isn't part of any documentation, they should learn how to do the code so that they can make the stuff for their own their own homebrew stuff, and then they'll always know how to do it. So but yeah, I think the learning curve is there. We've got FGC, we've got the forums, and obviously it's a great community where people get in and help each other, and we've got the Discord for Fantasy Grounds as well, where we all hang out. But yeah, the learning curve is there, but if people are willing to just put in a little bit of time, like I said before when we were talking earlier about 20 or 30 minutes ago, I've never met a person who has come to Fantasy Grounds, spent any time with it, and then went, well, that's crap, I'm out of here. I've never met that person. Everybody just loves it.
You don't spend enough time on the forums then, because there's quite a few of them.
I have seen, yeah, but usually the trolls on the forums are people who haven't given it a chance. They've heard rumors, or they've dabbled their toe in for 13 seconds, and then, or they couldn't get their port 1802 open, and they're like, fuck this, I'm out of here. And you're always going to have a few people that struggle, but that's the thing about the community, is if anybody would just spend 5 minutes to ask for help, someone will jump in and help them. I mean, it's a great place.
I get a lot of people who don't get games right away, so they're discouraged.
Yeah, I can't find a game. And I'm like,
I don't want to play now.
You're not looking, because this is a worldwide community of nearly 100,000 people at least that use Fantasy Grounds or have used it, and that there might not be that many active all the time, but you can find a game if you try.
Yep.
Yeah, I suppose that's true. I mean, I dare say that a large percentage of, because there's always more players than there are DMs, so it's the lack of DMs. It's always the sort of the limiting factor. But I think a lot of DMs are probably like me, who've got their own group. I mean, I don't advertise for games, and I don't really have time anyway to run any more than just once a week, really. But I mean, I have thought in the past, when I haven't had anything else to do, think, I could start up a campaign and get a new group of people going, maybe on a different night or something like that. But then I think, there's going to come a point where the next Tomb of Annihilation comes along, and it's going to take me out for 2 months. So it's not fair on that group of players to sort of just abandon them for that period of time.
Yeah.
But I think a lot of DMs have got their own groups, and so there's only so many DMs around that are actually looking for groups. So there's always going to be more players than there are DMs.
Yeah, that's my main focus actually in the college for teaching now, is to help people get into that DM role.
Yeah, and that's advice I give to people too, is if you can't find a game, make a game and be the DM, and you'll have people beating down your door. Because
those are the people that are investing into SmiteWorks heavily, and also these are loyal people. So these aren't just lazy people that don't want to learn. These are your loyal people. These are the people that want to support people like Rob and SmiteWorks and stuff, and that don't mind paying a few dollars for something that will help them run their campaigns.
Right.
Yeah, that's exactly right. I mean, and I think that's a good idea. Is as you say, is if you can't get a game, then run one yourself, because it does. Apart from anything else, you learn a hell of a lot more about the software if you're the DM than if you're a player, and especially if you're just a player with a demo license, because there's a limit to what you can do with it. But if you invest in the license, then you know, it kind of once you've invested that $40 or whatever it is, you kind of want to continue with it, and especially if you then go on and buy some of the handbooks, the player's handbook or something like that, and Dean's Guide, and you know, before you know it, you've spent a few quid on it, and you do want to sort of get something out of the software.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Yeah, sometimes people's complaint when they're just getting into Fantasy Grounds is the expense. But if you you know, after you've used it and after you've had your players connect to your table and you've had many, you know, multi-hour sessions, and you divide out the cost of what you spent versus your hours of fun, it's nothing. I mean, it's really not that much money when you break it down into like a per hour thing, unless you just play a one shot and quit, you know. But most people don't do that. They get into it, you know, for having either weekly or bi-weekly or monthly campaigns or whatever it is. And sometimes, like me, for a while, there was a point in time about a year ago where I had 10 games a week, 2 in real life and 8 on Fantasy Grounds. So I got crazy there for a while. But I think we've covered everything. Zacchaeus, was there? Oh, one thing that we wanted to ask you that we totally forgot to do it. The name Zacchaeus, what is that from? How did you come up with that? Uh-oh, did we lose him? We might have lost him. Oh, he's there. Okay.
I am here, but my ping has gone terrible, so I don't know if you can even hear me.
Yeah, we can hear you.
Yeah.
All right. Well, actually, I was back in the old days when the internet started, and you had things like MIRC chat, and that was the internet. You always so I came up with this one because I was an inspector of taxes for 37 years. So Zacchaeus is the guy out of the Bible who was a tax collector and hid up a tree or something like that. He was a very bad man. So I picked Zacchaeus as my handle for MIRC chat and for email and all sorts of other things, and so it's just kind of stuck.
Oh, that's funny. I had no idea. Zacchaeus, and I'm also glad to hear you say that, because I've been saying Zacchaeus forever, and I think yeah, let's just start the whole thing over. Let me back it up a couple seconds, and when I decide we're back on, I will let everybody know. We're gonna just redo that real quick. Let me make sure. Let me see. Tell me if you see the stream come back. Okay, Boffrin says it's working now, although I do not see video, but that's because I have a fucking 1987 setup in my house with this fucking goddamn fuck. You guys wouldn't have been able to get through the whole stream without me swearing. Jesus, cock, cunt, fuck. All right, let me see. I'm sure this is all going out on the stream. I'm positive it is. I just need to see it myself. Oh, now my whole screen's black. My whole screen's blank, and black, everybody. All right. Okay, you guys say you have the stream back, so I'm going to trust that. What did I do? I turned the TV off? I don't even know what's happening here.
They're saying it's working, but I don't know how far back
it
is.
So they're saying it's working. Let me just get it back here, guys. There's only a minute and a half left in the video, and I will play that. I paused it, and I backed it up a couple seconds, so we should be able to finish it here. So let me do that. All right, let me go finish the video, and then we'll give away a prize that we didn't talk about.
Voice meter up.
You know, anything. It's open for you to say whatever you want.
Take down the bit boss.
No, I think you've covered all the. You've covered everything really.
You know, I'm number one on your
stream. Really to
add,
just to encourage people to go to the FG College and you know, before they give up, because that's a fantastic community of people now, and check the forums out, and you know, before you give up, give the software a bit of a chance, because it is a great piece of software, and it can only get better, as we have seen from the little snippets from that video, Doug and Dave's video stream yesterday.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. So once again, for those of you that want to check out what we're talking about, just go to YouTube and look up the March 30th Fantasy Grounds Friday video that Doug and Dave, as you say, did. Doug and Dave. Doug and Dave. But anyway, I would like to thank you, Zacchaeus, for coming on our show and dropping some
Zacchaeus.
knowledge on our fans, and we really very much appreciate it. And so I'm going to go ahead and stop the video. We'll of course play this sometime in May, and so it'll be live on stream, whatever date that's going to be. But I'm going to go ahead and stop the video now, and then we can end our session. So there we go. Laverne, you and I are back on stream now. So there you go, everybody. That was sometime in May. You guys got it early. That was actually scheduled to be another week or two before we showed that, but we showed it today because we're awesome and you guys are awesome. So that was pretty cool. Zacchaeus came by, dropped some knowledge, and now it's time for us to drop a prize. So let's do it.
That's right.
Let's do it. We're going to do a
time.
keyword raffle. And if you guys have any questions about what Zacchaeus said, or if you have any questions about Fantasy Grounds at all, then just let us know. The keyword is going to be
Zacchaeus. No, make it more than Canaan. Something hard.
Yeah, you can't. If you can't spell it, you can't win. No. And this is going to be for encounters
Savage
in the Savage Jungles, and that's the DM's Guild Fantasy Grounds module that I just put up yesterday. You'll be getting a copy of that. So nice. Let's start that. Let's start this. And if you guys want to win a copy of that module, just type in the keyword in the chat, which is !jungle. And Furied Fate is first in. Good luck to everybody. What's up, Furied? Furied is very often on our show with us as well. So good times. Did anybody? We were trying to answer questions as we went. Not too many people had questions.
That was more comments than anything.
Yeah. Let's see. And you know what that means? Since that cut out, I'm gonna have to. Oh my God! I'm gonna have to. Either I'm gonna have to do the show in 2 parts on YouTube, or combine the. Oh God, it's gonna be. I hate it when the stream cuts out because it's such a pain in the ass. It's a pain in the ass, everybody. It makes me want to cry. But I won't cry. All right, we got some people entering. So yeah, here I'll go and show that actually real quick. Here it is right here. Here's an example shot. Well, you know what I can do? I have the power, you guys.
Can you rerun it today?
Screw that. I can show the whole real module. Can I rerun it? What do you mean?
Yeah, episode you just played.
Oh, no. I'm talking about when because how I put videos on YouTube is I move them from Twitch to YouTube. Right. But since the stream cut out, it's now 2 parts because when Twitch cuts out or when OBS stops, it then starts a separate new video. So it's a fucking giant pain in the ass. All right, let's find it, everybody. Let's go find this module, and I'll show you what it looks like. Encounters in the Savage Jungles. Yay! I just finished doing this. And, let's see. Let's find the story entry. I believe there's 23 different table of contents. Yeah, there's 23 different encounters basically, and they range from CR1 up to 10, I believe, and even here's a high one, levels 11 through 17, and then there's also bonus encounters after that. They're kind of role-playing ones. But let's see. Let's show you some of the graphics here. Let's see. What do we have? Whoops. Hello. Okay, here we go. Big jungle scale map. Really? What? Let's check that out. I like it.
That looks familiar.
Is it familiar? Yeah, I don't know. Cool. There's bonus maps in here that aren't even used, so they just give you extra maps that you can use to do whatever you want in Fantasy Grounds. So that's kind of cool. There's like 8 of them or 7 of them, and they're all different kind of stuff.
Oh yeah.
Make them so you can see. Yeah, big time. Let's see what else. What else do we have in here? This is cool. This is a whole encounter that takes place, and you look at all those pins, man. It's crazy.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. It's crazy. There's lots of new monsters. Let's look at the new monsters. No, that's Monsters of the Guild. Don't look at that. That's next week's show, and we are going to be giving away a copy of that on next week's show. So get ready.
Nice.
Forest Gnome Ambusher. What's that? What is a new monster? Hidden Pit Trap. That's not new. Jungle Grabber Crab. There's a lot of new stuff in here. Anyway, how we doing on the time? 1 minute left. So if you want to win a copy of this, just enter the keyword, which is !jungle, and you will get this. And I would say that this is, I don't know, 25 plus about 40, 38 different types of encounters. It's pretty awesome. And I just showed you a fraction. I'm going to close this now. Boom.
Yep.
45 seconds. Is it
45 seconds.
Is it still working? God damn it.
Yep.
Let's see. What else are we
22 in
going
the
to show
chat.
people? All right, we can close that. Oh, good. I got that other email for that guy. Oh yeah, I can show everybody. Here's Savage of the. So here, just for the by the way, this thing that you're winning, whoever wins this, was done by like this many different authors, and so I had to go to DM's Guild and cut up all the percentages and give it out to people. It's crazy. It's nuts. Okay, we did this show, so let's do this. We're gonna.
Do you have a
copy
link
this.
for that module for the chat?
I do have a link. I put it in the chat earlier, but I could be happy to redo it.
Okay.
If I find it again. Damn it! All that crap we were looking at before the show. Nope. Here it is. Okay, how do I... Can I copy the link? Copy. Paste it in the chat. That is not what it's supposed to be.
Zacchaeus, Laren, Zacchaeus Encounters, and Savage
That's
Jungle.
not what it's supposed to be. Let me try this again. Here we go.
Advertising some Savage Worlds.
There we go. There's the link, everybody. Okay, let's see who won. We're going to draw a winner right now. And bam! It is Fiona83. Congrats. Fiona83. I hope that's said right. So Fiona83, if you will PM me in Discord, send me a direct message. And if you're not on my Discord, A, how dare you, and B, here it is. No, I didn't spell it right.
Fionor.
Fionor. And make sure and give me your DM's Guild email so that I can send that to you, and I will do that today. Yay!
Sweet.
So congrats on
Did
that.
Did we get a confirmation from Glenn?
From Glenn.
The next show?
Oh no, I never asked Glenn.
Okay.
Because he just went to Chicago and he's all crazy. So, and he lives in the UK, but it's probably not going to be. It's just going to be you and me, and maybe maybe a certain other. Yeah, if she wants to do it, she can come on too. So we are going to have next week Monsters of the Guild. We're going to show that and give away a copy of it. Week
Put
after
Fury
that.
there.
Okay, put Fury. Okay.
Yep.
Is she going to confirm? Are you in the chat, Fury? Do you want to come on next week? Confirm in the chat. Confirm, Fury.
Can you confirm?
Can you confirm? I will change the color coding if it's confirmed. Guest confirmed.
Next Sunday. Yep.
And she says yes. Okay, boom. So GeoQuester will be after that. That no longer needs confirmation. I just got it from him because he's streaming right now too. So when we're done, everybody should go. We'll raid Geo's channel when we're done because he's playing a game. Then after that, we're going to do Mordenkainen's Tome of Foes, which I will buy on the 18th, and we'll show it on the 20th, and I'll go all through it and look at it. And by the way, we were talking about this earlier in the chat. For those of you that own my coding packages, anything that gets updated from Mordenkainen's Tome of Foes, as you know, I will raise the price on the coding packages. Now, if you already own that, you don't have to worry about it because all updates are free. But if you don't get it, you better get it before then because the price is going up, bitches. That's how I do. But it's probably not. It's based on the number of codes, and I think we discovered that races and backgrounds is what Mordenkainen's is going to have. And then the 27th is not a real show, and the guests on that show will be Schmo, Joe Numbers, Lazy Sooner, McClancy, Tall Joe, and Urash. And then the week after that is when I learn how to use a computer. No, where we go right here. Right here. FG Gamer Girls. We're going to try to get that on that day, but we haven't confirmed it yet. We're going to try to have all the females we can get, which there's a list of them, but we probably won't be able to get them all because they're all awesome and doing shit and they don't want to come on our show. But we'll see what we can do. If you guys have audience people, if you guys have Hustler, what does that mean? Let's do it. Oh, I'm a hustler. I was thinking Larry Flint and we had all hell broke loose. If you guys have a topic for the show that you want to see us talk about, just let us know. Get on our Discord and do all that kind of stuff. Leroon, anything else before we wrap it up? That was pretty awesome.
No, but I was just curious if anybody has subscribed to your YouTube channel, because I had a feeling, weren't you giving out a book or something? The actual book?
Oh, here, I'll even show that. If you guys want, you can, let's see, YouTube, I don't know how to go to my own YouTube channel. There should be a link. Here it is. There's a video
Hey,
on
Rob
there.
Toohey
Hey,
here.
Rob Toohey here. All right, enough of that. There is a video on there, and I'll find it
Hey,
here.
Rob Toohey here.
No, I already just told you to shut up, Toohey. You fucking shut up. All right, let's see. I did it many weeks ago.
Many moons.
So I have 5,500 videos on here. You'd think I'd know how to search for a goddamn video. Here's what we'll do. We'll go to Creator Studio and search this way. Morden Kynan. I don't know. Let's see. Did I find it? Here it is. Okay. When a copy, I will post this in the chat as well. When a copy of, okay, there we go.
Fury said we should do a show with just Rob arguing with himself.
Yeah, just me talking to myself, pissed off because I can't do anything. So there's a video, you guys.
Hey guys, Rob
Hey
here.
guys, Rob here
And contest
for the video.
For...
So basically what this is if you subscribe to my YouTube channel, then you can enter to win a copy of this book. And if you're already a subscriber, doesn't matter. You can still enter.
So that's for the hardback.
And that's for the hardback. That's for no bullshit right there. Sent directly to your door. So I'll order it from Amazon and it ships anywhere in the world, I think. So just there's the actual link to the thing, which looks like this. And then we can see, yes, I want to leave. It's got 26 more days, and there's 83 people that have entered so far. Well, not 83 people, but 83 entries, because you can do different shit to enter. But anyway.
So if you live in Kazakhstan, we'll try to get it there, right?
Kazakhstan. If you live in Isfucksville, we'll still try to get it to you.
Only 83 entries.
Yeah, crazy. People don't care. I gotta save that. Okay, we can close this. We talked about the shows. We did that. Gave away the prize. Show notes. Okay, we don't have any. Smiteworks. There's all the people that work at Smiteworks. If anybody wants to know, Doug and John own Smiteworks. Carl Pinder works there. James Holloway. David Middleton is he's a customer service guy. And then Zeph, that's on the forums, his name is Zeus. And then the four of us that are the social media team is Rob, Leland, Disney, and Gerald. And then there's 70 plus developers. So there you go. That's Smiteworks right there. Boom.
Wow, the guys are already bringing that crap up, Rob. I told you.
What are they bringing up?
The new role that we got for you in the college.
Oh, the new role. Let's take a look at what Rob's new role is in Fantasy Grounds College. Here it is. What a dick. Right there. What a dick. Spelled wrong and everything. I love it. All right, guys. I think the show is over. Now it's just bullshit. What are we doing? I'm trying to make the video longer so when I combine both of them, it'll just be a whole nightmare. You know what I'm going to have to do? I'm going to have to download both Twitch videos and then slam them together in Windows and then upload
There you go.
But it's such a pain in the ass. Such a pain in the ass. I hope everybody appreciates it.
Well, you can cut things out then.
No, I'm not going to cut anything out. All right. What else? That's it? Is that everything? Dungeon Masters.
I think so.
These things. Okay.
Oh, I do want to say one thing. A little plug for FG College.
By all means.
Wednesdays, I'm typically teaching Character Creation 101. So even if you've taken the class, if you know somebody in your group that needs help, just send them over to the college. And Fridays, or just about every Friday, not every Friday, I'm doing a DM class. So if you're a dungeon master and you need more help, come on over and sign up.
Very good. Everybody that doesn't know should know about FGC, which I'm going to post in the chat right now. Boom. Somebody just, hey, I'm getting, these are all subscribe to YouTube. Bam. These are not. These are Facebook things. Jeff sent a photo. That's my friend Jeff. I don't know what he sent. We're not going to look at it. It's private information. Could be a dick pic. Don't want to know. Go back to school. Who said that? Go back to school, kids. Get good.
Get good.
So here's the slides, everybody, for the upcoming shows. You know what? Here, you know what I can do while we're just sitting here. Well, actually, the people don't see what's on my screen anymore. They just see the slides. But I was going to change the Oh no, I can do that later. Never mind. I think we're done. I love just dragging on to the end of the show because it makes me happy. So let me remind people at the end what they can do to help the channel, which is, first of all, I'll put some stuff in the chat again, as I've been just slamming the chat full of everything. Slamming the chat, that's what we said back in college. As a euphemism. You guys can come to our Discord. I posted the FGC one there. You can click on that link and go and get on that website and go to their Discord. You can come to my Discord. You can go to Patreon. Both FGC and Rob2 have Patreon pages. As little as $1 for me. What's your lowest level there, Ren?
$2.
$2, yeah. So good times there. You subscribe to the channel if you want. If you have Amazon Prime, you guys can subscribe for free. You can donate if you wish. You can go to the DMs Guild and peruse the items there. Today's sales on the DMs Guild as of this moment for April 29th is 1, 3, 4, 5, 6 items sold. But 2 of those are everything packages, so that's good. Rob, shit breaks again? Did the stream go out? No. I still see it.
Yeah, it's still there.
I don't know what he's talking about. Also, you can subscribe to YouTube, as we were talking about, and follow me on Twitter. So, good times. WotC needs to release a new campaign hardcover. Not sure if its MTOF is going to contain much of the way of adventures. No, MTOF is going to contain monsters and lore information and races and backgrounds. Playable races. Which, of course needs coding. Hello. And then the adventure that's coming out in September and October, I can't talk about. Can't say it.
Yep.
NDA. Thank you.
NDA.
But there's video of it because we play tested it, and I'll put it up as soon as I'm allowed. Someday. All right, I think that's it. We're gonna shut her down. Are we gonna shut her down?
Right.
Is that it? Are we done?
Yep.
Okay.
Shut her down.
All right, guys. On behalf of my co-host and our special guest, Zacchaeus from tonight's show, I bid you great everything. I don't know what I'm saying. Anyway, have a good night, and until next time, everybody, good gaming. Oh no, I fucked it up. Now I fucked it up. Now I gotta redo it. I can't end the show by screwing up my sign off. That's the first time I've ever done that. Although the other day I did say good gaming everybody instead of good gaming everyone. I don't know that it matters, but anyway, what I meant to say was good gaming everyone.